Welcome to another edition of the SND Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Steven is here. Dan's over there. What's going on tonight, Dan?
What's up? How's it going tonight?
I'm good. We got a packed show tonight again. We're going to review the NBA Finals, Mets, Yankees, NHL Finals. Andy from Eyes on Isles will join us again tonight. Not just the NHL Finals, we'll talk with him, but we will also talk NHL Draft, which is coming up on the 30th.
And free agency, don't forget that as well. Going to be fun summer with hockey. Granted, we have to wait until late September for games, but it's going to be a fun summer.
Yeah.
It's it.
It's going to be an interesting one, especially with the salary cap going down this season. But we'll get into that later with Andy from Eyes on Isles. Also, big thank you once again to Darren from the 7 Line.
Huge thank you to him and Keith Black.
Yes, from schmucksports.com. So check out schmucksports.com. Check out the 7line.com.
I got a lot of feedback from the show, and a lot of people said that was very well done by us. So thank you for the people who listened to the interview and other things. We appreciate it. We've been working hard. We just don't do it because whatever. We really actually enjoy it, and we're starting to love it. So
yes,
it's pretty cool to do weekly. I actually went to a wedding on Saturday, a friend's wedding, and at least 3 or 4 people brought it up to me, and I was like, oh, wow, I would never thought so-and-so would be listening or checking it out, and they see it on Facebook all the time. So, yeah, I'm like, yeah, definitely take a look, take a listen, so hopefully they're listening. So.
It is cool to hear people say, like, hey, you guys forgot this, and this stat should have been mentioned, or that was an awesome interview, and I enjoyed listening to you guys talk about this. It's really cool to get that feedback, especially from you guys, and we love it, so keep it up. Keep up.
And I really do like how we're starting to get friends. Like Andy, for example. We had Andy on a few weeks ago. Ever since then, we've had Andy on a lot.
Yeah,
and we love it, and we actually love it, and it's great to have that interaction with other people and people who write blogs every day and doing it pretty much underground. So I'm really enjoying taking the underground aspect of it and watching it grow.
Yeah, I enjoy it as well. Darren once again was a huge help last week.
And no one's more underground than Darren. So that was really what really made it awesome last week. Pretty much hard work. It's all about hard work, and he's the prime example of it.
Right. And it's cool because he was talking about how he gets to see his product.
Exactly. And
that's what we get to see every week. People when they talk to us about the show, we see that our product. Even when I listen, it's cool. It's like, wow, I did this, and this, and we figured out how to work this, and this into it. It's really cool to do. We both enjoy it. We hope everybody else enjoys it. Also, a shout-out to Division 1.1, this week's song, Cross the Bear.
And that's another thing about Division 1.1. If you haven't checked out they posted a few videos this week on Facebook pretty much behind the scenes about the album and everything like that. So if you haven't checked that out, that's a pretty good watch if you're interested. And keep on doing what they're doing. They're slowly pedaling along, trying to make brand new music and just rocking hard. So a lot of people will be motivated about. So
yes,
keep listening to us and
keep sharing us.
Yeah, supporting everybody else around that's helping us out. Big thank you to them as well.
Yes. So let's go play a little more Cross the Bear, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the SNDP Podcast. Dan and Steve here. You just listened to Cross the Bear. We're going to switch gears and talk about the New York Metropolitans. They're in, right now, a big road trip. Lots changed since last Tuesday.
Just a little bit.
For the better, I feel. We've had a lot of tough losses, and all the losses we've had were walk-offs. But all our wins have been awesome at the same time. Pretty much with this year's Met team, we're not expected much other than the occasional, every man Harvey start because he's the man. And right now, what Zach Wheeler is going to bring in his early stages of his major league career. His first start was absolutely amazing. He had controlled problems, but that's what young guys need to work on. And he got the win. He pitched last night. We're recording on Wednesday. He pitched Tuesday night, and I wouldn't say it was one of those bad. It wasn't a bad game. Obviously he could have had a lot worse of a game, but it wasn't what everybody was expecting Wheeler to come through, which is kind of unrealistic to say, because I guess we're so spoiled on how awesome and out of the gate Matt Harvey was coming out of AAA. So he had a rough game. He gave up a couple of home runs and a couple of runs, but he got the no decision. Thankfully, thanks to Amy's communication in the ninth inning, that helped tide the game. And unfortunately, LaTroy Hawkins blew the game in the bottom of the ninth, and we lost in another heartbreaking fashion. And that was 4, right? Yeah, 4 games this road trip that we lost on a walk-off.
Yeah. Actually, 3. We've only lost 4 games on the road trip.
Oh, I apologize. Which game didn't we lose on a walk-off?
The last Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So every other game, but the last 3 games were all walk-off losses.
Right. But the one bright side of...
But we do fight back, and that's...
last Saturday in Philly.
They were down 6-1. 7-1, I'm sorry, 7-1.
No reason to win that game.
And they didn't give up, and that's always great to see. It's always great to see the Mets do that.
Win or lose that game, you felt good about it because of the way it came.
Because we're not expecting to win this year, which we've established millions of times throughout the weeks, and we're starting to see the layers of the players that want to be here and want to win, and we're starting to get a new culture of Mets. I'm not saying we're going to be contending for a division this year with this core, but we're starting to get a culture of never giving up and have the pitchers take care of business. And of course we're going to be excited because Zach Wheeler's throwing 95, 98 effortlessly, and that's great to see, coming along with arguably the best pitcher in the National League this year in Harvey. They're shutting down everybody. It's baby steps, and it's really nice of fresh air to see some sort of movement coming through the Mets. The Mets actually got Eric Young Jr., who's been a spark plug so far with our lineup. He's
what our friend Tom and I actually talked about during the offseason. The Mets needed as a leadoff guy. We both really wanted Michael Bourne.
Well, of course, everybody wanted Michael Bourne.
But you know what? Eric Young Jr., you're basically not paying the guy to be spark plug of this team. And we haven't really had a quote-unquote spark plug since Jose Reyes in the lineup.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say he is Jose Reyes, because he's not Jose Reyes.
No one is Jose Reyes. Very few people are Jose Reyes.
But he does bring that energy to the top of the lineup, and he gets on well. He doesn't. Yeah, he's a smart hitter.
As of right now, he started his Met career off really well. Another person I would like to mention that the Mets have, they also got rid of. They've made smaller moves, which is nice to see. I guess something just never clicked with Colin Cowgill.
Yeah.
And that project ended real quick. So they just found, let's get some pitching for what we can get out of that.
You knew there was a problem with him when they sent him to Vegas and he couldn't hit there?
Yeah.
That's when you knew you had to get rid of him?
Pretty sad to see, because as we've mentioned throughout the whole entire season, because of with Zach Wheeler watch and everything like that, it's a hitter's league. As you can see with Ike Davis, Ike is raking right now. He's finally getting that hot streak that all of us wanted him to see him Flushing. He won Player of the Week last week by hitting a couple bombs, and I was watching the pregame show last night. He had another home run and a bunch of doubles. And there were oppos. For people who don't know oppos, those are opposite field hits. And that's very rare for a lefty, especially like Ike Davis. So
Well, we saw in his rookie year one thing he was good at was opposite field hitting.
Yes.
And that's what he's lost.
He's lost 100% that. And hopefully that's rejuvenating him to get back into the bigs. But
like Terry Collins said, he's had times this year where he's had hot games.
Yes, and then the next game he'd be
go
like,
over.
What are you...
Where was the guy from yesterday?
Kind of thing.
So, like Collins said, it's about getting hot.
Yeah.
And staying hot for him.
I'm rooting for Ike. It's not like we're going to contend the World Series if he's good or bad this rest of the year. I would love to see him come back and start raking and have a good second half of the season because he's genuinely a nice guy and he could still be a key member of our franchise in a few years when we eventually contend for a playoff spot and hopefully make it to a playoffs and maybe contend for a World Series kind of talk.
Right.
So a lot of it's going on Ike, and I really hope for his sake and the Mets' sake that he finally wakes up and snaps out of it. And it's also really sad is it is a contract year for him. So he needs...
Contract year for him?
Yeah.
Arbitration contract or an actual contract?
I think it's either or. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But he's not getting money that he's supposed to towards the end of the year. And everybody was expecting big things out of Ike. And obviously he's not coming through with that at the moment. So hopefully something comes up with Ike. We also like to mention not congrats because it's not over yet. David Wright overtook Pablo Sandoval in the third baseman votes, which is great to see because David Wright's a lot better than Pablo. And Pablo has been on the DL for the last couple of weeks, and he's finally coming back. But
right.
If you haven't voted, please vote for David Wright.
It's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
This week.
4th of July, midnight.
4th of July at midnight.
So keep on voting for Wright. It would be awesome to see David Wright starting an All-Star game, especially at Citi Field, which obviously is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And just to see him do that is going to be awesome. So we shall see with that. You have any bet notes that you're looking forward to this weekend? We got a big weekend series against the Nats.
Yeah.
The underachieving Nats.
Not even a big weekend series. How about the idea of go Friday and Sunday and you're going to get to see Harvey and Wheeler?
Yeah. And that's what I was leading to. It's going to be amazing to see. We know what we're going to get out of Harvey. He's excited. He's facing a division foe. And he's going to try to strike out everybody and just dominate, which I absolutely love about Harvey. I love his bulldog mentality and not giving a crap about anything. And he's definitely he's contending for my number one favorite Met with David Wright, which is crazy to think of, but he's really getting there. And then Sunday with Wheeler, his first home start at Citi Field.
Yes.
I'm sure he's going to be really pumped and amped up and everything like that. It's really going to be interesting to see how he's able to control his emotions and everything. We had one great start and one start. Let's see. Hopefully he bounces back and gives the home fans something to cheer about.
I'm excited for it. Sure there's going to be a pretty good crowd on Sunday.
Because it's also David Wright bobblehead day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you haven't gotten your tickets, I haven't gotten my tickets yet, but I'm hoping.
I did get my Wheeler shirt.
It's good. I'm hoping to be getting my tickets any day now. So if we see you at the ballpark, don't be afraid to say hi.
Yes.
And you're definitely going Sunday. Is that part of your plan?
90% sure.
It's your plan.
It's my plan.
Okay.
Got to see how Sunday goes.
Okay.
Between now and then.
Okay. Fair enough.
So. Pretty excited about seeing them pitch this weekend. No. Even just watching them.
It was a real treat finally watching Wheeler in person. Well, not Wheeler. I mean Harvey in person. I'm excited. I'm really interested to see what can possibly happen with Wheeler's first home start. Nothing but great things were expected out of them. So. It really, really is going to be interesting this week, and I can't wait to talk about it on whenever our next show is.
Yes. So let's go play a little more Cross the Bear, and we'll be right back, and we'll talk a little Yankees.
SND Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by Major League Baseball or any of its affiliates.
Welcome back to the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, that was Division 1.1 with Cross the Bear. Now we're going to switch baseball teams and talk about the Bronx Bombers.
Yes, the Yankees. Like we mentioned before, we're recording on a Wednesday night, so we have a little bit better grips to reality with the Yankees after coming off of a walk-off home run by Ichiro Suzuki to beat the Texas Rangers, the always tough Texas Rangers. I was about to say New York Rangers, wrong sport for a second. It was a all Japanese pitching duel last night with Kuroda and Yu Darvish. Yeah, I was right. Yu. Was another pitching duel, a couple of home runs. That's how the Yankees beat you 9 out of 10 times. He gave up 3 home runs, and they gave up 4 home runs in total, and Ichiro took care of business at the end of the game. The Yankees they won 3 out of 4 against the Rays this weekend as well. Pretty much the Yankees are just doing steadily working its pace. The Yankees are more topical off the field the last few days than actually being on the field. So I'd rather talk about that instead of really talking about the product, which is a shame. We like to mention that today's Derek Jeter's 39th birthday. Happy birthday today. Jeez, yeah. I remember his rookie year was my first real year of watching baseball on a daily basis. So that really...
Jeter's 39 years old.
That's crazy, yes. we feel old. That's crazy to think about. That was one story. Another story is Mark Teixeira.
Could basically miss the season.
He's done for the year with surgery. And there's some... Oh, my God. It's coming...
That
I don't know.
Stupid third base guy.
I don't know. Some other story about some baseball player that takes HGH, allegedly. And
no, he doesn't.
Hits a lot of home runs. He hits on chicks while slumping in the playoffs. Let's see. He likes dating muscle bodybuilders that look like they have penises.
It's a family show, Daniel.
I'm sorry. That's the technical term. Let's see. Oh, Alex Rodriguez. Silly me. A-Rod finally joins Twitter. How conveniently. And decides...
He also joined Instagram, in case
Oh,
you
he
were
did?
wondering. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's some self-indulging love fest we would have with that. Decides to join Twitter and decides to mention that he's able to and again play baseball really, really soon and able to work out again. Before he was able to talk to the Yankees or the medical staff or anything like that, and that didn't bode well with the Yankees. Brian Cashman had some few choice words with A-Rod. It's really slowly. I heard this good reference today on Buster Only said it today. They're like that couple that has children, but they want to get a divorce, but they can't get a divorce because of the children.
Those stupid kids.
Yeah, that's the Yankees and A-Rod right now. With a couple more years remaining of his 10-year contract, it's year 6 of it, and no one wants the declining age of A-Rod and starting to get hurt every so often and declining stats and everything like that, and that's just the overall baggage of A-Rod.
You mean the declining stats because of the HGH wearing off?
Yes, of course. That's where I'm applying to. But A-Rod might be one of the most self-indulging attention whores, which we all have known ever in sports. He can never get out of his own feet, per se. He can never get out of his own way. When the Yankee fans finally like him, he does something stupid and puts an egg on their face, essentially. And the Yankee fans and Yankees are just having enough of it, and they really hope he doesn't come back for the rest of the season. But obviously, that's not the case.
At this point, they may need him.
They do need him right now, because obviously, I would rather have Alex Rodriguez than who's their third baseman right now, because Yuke's been hurt. It's been plugging the third...
That guy.
Yeah, the third-string third baseman. So, obviously, the Yankee
They have a cardboard cutout.
Okay, that's cool. Sounded like Franny just now, okay? Okay. Anyway, it's really sad that the Yankees this week, it's really because of A-Rod. and that what's-his-face actually had to backtrack his words from yesterday, which everybody wanted to say, and Cashman finally had enough. The remaining series against the Rangers are going to be interesting, as crucial as always, because they're a perennial playoff team, as you can see in the past few years, and a side in the Yankees. Also, big weekend series in Baltimore against the Orioles, which right now is a big cluster in the division right now. Right now, the Boston Red Sox still have a lead, but the Yankees and Orioles still are tied for second place with 3 games back from Boston. So it's going to be a real interesting series to see. All the teams are finally playing. Every team in this division is playing well. Toronto's finally getting in a hot streak, so they're coming back to respectability. So it's going to be a cluster for the remaining of the year, and the Yankees need to stay afloat for them to have any shot at making the postseason this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a long rest of the year for them with all the injuries, and now with the A-Rod fiasco, getting to join them.
Yeah, but that's not going to affect the players. It's just going to be tabloids, nothing really serious, because he's not played. He hasn't played all year, so they're not really expecting anything. So it sucks to hear that Teixeira is done for the year. Obviously, you don't want to hear that because he is one of the key members of the team, and it's never good to see a player ending his season shortly due to an injury that's been nagging all season long.
Yeah,
and that makes you believe, did he rush back, kind of thing. But the wrist is a really weird injury. It's a very tricky injury in baseball, obviously, because you're using it 100% of the time with swinging a bat and everything like that. So it really is one of those tricky things that the Yankees do it right or everything like that. Yeah,
you got to be careful with it because it's vital when it comes to swinging his wrist.
And he obviously had it bad enough that him and the Yankees were willing to shut it down for the season.
Right. You rather worry about next year. You got to think long term when it comes to a contract like that.
Yeah, and it's
and
really
hope it doesn't get affected in the long term.
Yeah, really sad to see with a guy like Teixeira who is able to hit a lot of bombs for the Yankees and just overall great player, especially with his glove and everything like that. So you hate to see that happen to good players all the time. What else are you looking forward to in the Yankees this week?
The Yankees? Yep. Not much. They're the Yankees. They did get some good news with Jeter, who's going to start baseball activity soon.
Yeah, which is great to see. El Capitan is going to be working out soon.
So that's good for them.
Yeah, and the Yankees need Jeter to come back. He might not hit 350 like we're all hoping, but then again, he can. With Jeter, but the Yankees do need that leadership and him being the captain there and leading every day for the Yankees to hopefully get into October baseball, as we've seen so many times, other than 1 year as he's been a Yankee, which is amazing to even think about.
Yeah, I do give props to Ivan Nova, by the way.
Yeah,
who had a great outing the other night and got screwed because he had a couple guys on, and they brought in a bullpen guy to face him and to face the next hitter.
Yeah,
so it cost him his ERA. And also the loss, but he deserved to win that game. The bats just didn't show up for him.
Yeah, it's just one of those things with I would have liked to see what Nova would have been if he went to a different team, like a different, quieter team that he was able to grow. And he still has a lot of growing to do. He's still young enough, so it's one of those frustrating things. He still has all the talent in the world. But the lights at Yankee Stadium always draws its ugly head when people are not ready for the spotlight.
Right. But it's going to be interesting to see now is Philip Hughes.
Oh, he's another one. He's the prototypical of that. Him and Jabba Chamberlain. The Yankees haven't done great with pitching prospects as of late. Say what you will, the Yankees really haven't had that.
Right.
We've given 3 off the top of our heads right now. That should be the next best thing, and something stupid happened, or they were mismanaged.
Right.
Like Jabba. Prime example, and it's really sad to see because he had one of the arguably the best stuff as you ever see in a rookie, and they damaged him. They messed with him, and the same with Hughes. And it's a sad shame to see, and hopefully the Yankees pitching prospects prosper in the future.
You gotta hope so. They don't really have too much of a pitching prospects, from what I've been told. They don't really have much of a prospects. One guy they should consider going after, though, is, in my opinion, is Michael Morris, because you can plug him in at first base and DH, and he will hit a lot of home runs as well, especially at Yankee Stadium. And he's sitting there in Seattle, and they may not even ask for much. And actually, one guy who else is one of their prospects coming up soon is Pineda.
Yeah, that's
He's
one of them.
He's actually been pitching well in the minors. They're leaving him there, they said, till at least after the break.
Which is great to see. He's still very young, and we saw what he was able to do with the crappier Seattle Mariners a few years back. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, he lost a lot of weight, rumored had it, and everything like that. So he has electric stuff, and that remember when that trade first happened, how the Yankees got crucified for giving up Jesus Montero?
Yeah,
it's been really quiet since then. It's been a push so far. So
well, neither guy's really panned out.
Hopefully the Yankees take advantage and Pineda actually comes through for them, and it could be that star pitcher that they're hoping, because they gave up a stud catching prospect for him.
Yes, and now look at them. Now they have no catcher. They have Chris Stewart. Let's go play a little more Across the Bear. And we'll come right back to talk some NBA Finals.
SNDPODCAST is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by Major League Baseball or any of its affiliates.
Welcome back to the S&D podcast. Dan here, and Steve's over there. This is the part of the show that I do not like to wish. But congratulations to the Miami Heat on winning a 7-game series against the San Antonio Spurs. It was a great series at the end. Unfortunately, the Spurs choked in Game 6 and never gave up. And they fought really hard in Game 7, but the Heat were just too much for them and just really stinging at the end. And it's really just upsetting for everybody who didn't like the Heat. But congrats to the Miami Heat. They are clearly the best team in the league. Well earned, and everybody's gained respect. Of course, LeBron won the MVP, and that goes without saying. He is the best player in the world.
I mean, when you average like 30 points a game in the last 3 games,
yeah,
close to 40 a game.
Yep,
yeah,
pretty much.
He basically said, "I'm gonna win the MVP," and said, "Give me the ball, let's go out and win it." It's basically what we said with Keith last week. It was the way the Heat were going to win is LeBron dominates every aspect of the game.
But that's LeBron. Nothing new with that. It was just that the Spurs finally, their gas tank finally went empty. And the players that were good for the first 3 games, the 3 wins, were nowhere to be found. And I think Manu Ginobili is done. After the Game 6 loss, he said he didn't know how to respond after that tough loss. And I don't know if it's a European thing, but just the body language and him being honest doesn't really bode well for the American viewers and American fans, because you don't want to hear one of your all-time great players for the Spurs to be pretty much saying, yeah, it's pretty much over without saying it. But everybody knew, just the way of the tone of his words, that it wasn't good for the Spurs coming into Game 7 versus the Heat.
Yeah, there were really no words to describe the end of Game 6. It was just like, wow, that just happened, and that just happened. And then Game 7, I mean, it was a lot closer than I thought at the end. I thought it was going to be a little bit.
And the Spurs had their moments, and you'd never think in a million years that Tim Duncan would miss a wide open shot.
Wide open hook shot.
Yeah.
And then a follow up tipping also.
Yeah, it really was a weird ending to the series. Things that the Spurs never beat themselves in, they beat themselves in, and that's all they needed.
Spurs lost their series. That's
it was their series to lose, and they lost it. That's for sure. But it was a very great NBA playoffs. I had fun until the Knicks lost to the Pacers. But after the Knicks lost, it was fun, I guess. It was no Stanley Cup playoffs for that matter, but we'll get to that with Andy in a bit. But what's a few things you're interested in seeing this off season?
I'm interested to see where
New York, the Knicks and the Nets.
it's not even the Knicks and Nets.
Just in general.
In general, there's a lot of rumors of the Chris Paul, Dwight Howard combination going together. And one of the biggest rumors right now is actually the two of them going to Atlanta.
Oh, I haven't read those rumors yet. That's crazy.
Because with Josh Smith coming off the books,
yeah,
it gives them room for 2 max contracts in Atlanta.
That's going to be interesting to see.
But now I'm hearing things that the Lakers actually are interested in keeping him. In other words, they had Kobe come in and say, okay, I want Dwight back.
Yeah,
That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, the thing with NBA rumors, you don't know what exactly is going to happen. You can say Joe Schmo's going to X, Y, and Z, and then the next day he's going to the completely different team that you'd never imagine.
Well, LeBron James, when he was a free agent, signed with every NBA team.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
The Knicks, the Bulls, the Cavs, the Heat, the
Raptors. He was going to the Raptors.
No, that was bogus. The Nets were Well, he wasn't playing in New Jersey for a couple of years, which wasn't happening. But Jay-Z made it interesting for the most part. That was just one of those weird things that everybody was so amped up, and then the minute he said, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach," everybody hated him.
Yeah.
And that was the minute, like obviously, we're both wrestling fans. That's like the ultimate heel turn. LeBron was the quote-unquote John Cena of the world. Actually, John Cena is a bad reference. Let's say The Rock, when The Rock was The Rock. And, all right, everybody loved The Rock. Everybody loved The Rock. And then he, rock bottoms, for example, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And everybody's like, what? That's the biggest heel turn ever kind of thing. And that's what happened with LeBron. LeBron's the biggest heel in the NBA. Granted, he is the best. He is the biggest heel in the NBA, and he can't do any right for anybody. But that's okay. He's fine with that because he just has to take care of his business and to collect his paycheck every day and take care of everything. And he has a shot of winning another championship. That's what's going to be amazing about it. Is of course they're going to drive for 3 and 4 years. So obviously right now we think they will. A lot of people are skeptical that they might get rid of Chris Bosh because of the cap space. So
it's not just get rid of Chris Bosh. It's more of get rid of Chris Bosh to make room to re-sign LeBron next summer. Mm-hmm. Because they feel that because it's a player option for next summer, and they feel that Chris Bosh should be the first one to say, I'm staying.
Yeah, exactly.
And be that guy.
Exactly. But he obviously he deserves to stay with the team. So it's going to be one of those things to see what actually happens in the next few days.
You know what else will be interesting this summer with the NBA is actually Josh Smith. If Atlanta does let him go, where does Josh Smith end up? Mm-hmm. Which will be interesting. So, of course, Chris Paul right now is, in my view, the most important free agent. But let me get your view on this. If you're an NBA team, do you take a chance at Andrew Bynum? He's like early 20s with bad knees. Think about that. And bad hair.
It's essentially what the Knicks did with Amari Stoudemire.
Taking that risk.
You're going to take the risk, but you know what the risk is entitled. Like the Knicks knew that you're going to only get a couple years good out of them. And the Knicks signed Tyson Chandler to make it look better than what it really was. Bynum obviously missed the whole entire season, which is really bad to say. You're gonna put some red flags, but you're gonna put a flyer on him and see what you can do with it.
I'll tell you one thing that will really piss Knicks fans off is if Andrew Bynum gets health insurance. Because remember, Amari's contract wasn't insured.
Yeah.
Because of his knees. So if Andrew Bynum gets insured because of his knees, the Knicks should file a complaint.
Yeah, they really should. On that note, I just hope the Knicks keep building on the team that we had this year. Well, not unfortunately. It's a hit or miss depending on the view of J.R. Smith obviously declined his player option, which we all knew and called.
He's going to go out and try and get
as much money as he can. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly is going to happen with J.R. Smith.
There's going to be some team.
We all know he has all the talent in the world, but he is the biggest head case in the league. It's going to be
You're going to call him the biggest head case? Have you seen Chris Anderson?
Okay, he's top 5 of head cases in the league, and you know that.
I'm not going to argue that he's top 5, but I'm not going to call him the biggest head case.
Fair enough. But from watching him all season long, I hope he comes back for the right price.
I think at the end of the day, he's going to end up coming back.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's going to think, I could get money. Then he's going to come back with a hometown discount unless some crazy team comes out of the water and gives him ridiculous, stupid money that they should never give a player, and he takes it, obviously. But it's going to be interesting to see with the Knicks how they build their team with the little cap room they do have for spending. So they also took their rights of Pablo Pugioni and Chris Copeland today. So they're going to be back with the Knicks next year, which is good to see. They're both really Pridgey Smalls, who was just a gnat, and it was great to see him contribute as a 36-year-old rookie. And Chris Copeland really played well towards the end of the year, and he was the first rookie, I forget which rookie, probably Bernard King, to throw up 30 points back-to-back games. So it's really nice to see those two guys coming back for another year, and we know Shump's going to be coming back. He was a restricted free agent, but we know Shump's going to be back because he's one of the keystone pieces to the Knicks. You could just have that feeling. So that's going to be good to see. The Knicks just got to keep building and being more of a team and everything like that, and hopefully that happens.
Today is June 26th. And
happy birthday to Amon Shumpert and Raymond Felton.
But more importantly, 10 years ago today, LeBron went number 1. 10 years ago today, LeBron James went number 1 in the draft. And Bleacher Report, I just retweeted it on our Twitter page at the SND_podcast. And Bleacher Report just tweeted out, today, 10 years ago today, these three went 1, 2, 3 in the NBA draft. The jury's still out on who had the best career. Is there really an argument on who?
Well, I saw a funny meme today. Not really funny to me because I'm a Knicks fan, but it's pretty funny. They had the top 5 draft picks. It was LeBron, Darko Milicic. Imagine. Before I finish that, imagine if Melo went to the Pistons instead. They would have been a dynasty.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
That's one of those frustrating things. If I was a Piston,
there was a very good video. I forgot who did it on ESPN last week about that draft.
Okay.
And I forgot who the anchor was after the video. I think it was Scott Van Pelt, who said, "We all know where LeBron, Bosh, Wade, and Melo are. But just remember, Darko Milicic sitting on a beach somewhere in Russia with his ring."
Andrea, and Lima, and a trophy wife.
So it can't be too rough being him and not playing in the NBA. But right now, we're going to go play a little more Cross the Bear, and we're going to come right back with our friend Andy from Eyes on Isle.
S&D Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Basketball Association or any of its affiliates.
And welcome back to the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, thank you to Division 1.1 with Cross the Bear this week. Now we would like to welcome in our special guest, becoming a weekly guy.
Weekly guy and our good friend of ours, Andy. Welcome aboard, Andy. How's it going this week?
Good, boys. How you doing?
Great. After this Stanley Cup was a lot of fun.
Before we even get into the series, let's get your view on Patrice Bergeron.
Patrice, we had an interesting conversation about that today. It's funny you bring that up. Patrice Bergeron, I think, probably just trumped Gregory Campbell in the toughest man award for the NHL, if there was one. There probably should be one. On one standpoint, I give him a lot of credit for playing through what he played through. Broken ribs, torn cartilage in the ribs, severed muscles in the ribs, and then separating his shoulder in the first period of Game 6. It's just absolutely incredible. He did admit to taking painkillers for that, which I think anybody probably would have admitted to. He probably wouldn't have hardly been able to breathe without them. But then comes the word that he played with a slight tear in his lung, slight hole in his lung. And that got me thinking that when do we put some responsibility on an organization to protect a player for his future health and truly make a decision that's in his best interest and not in the interest of winning a sports championship? They're trying to say that the punctured lung came after the game, or another rumor I heard was that it came from giving him the injection. Well, if he was able to get a hole in his lung from a shot, all right, an injection, what could have possibly happened during the course of that game if he would have gotten really walloped by let's say a Brent Seabrook? Would the lung have collapsed?
Unfortunately.
It's not a safe situation when you think about it. So while on one hand I credit Bergeron, I think he's a fantastic player. He's a player that any team in the NHL would love to have, obviously. And I credit his toughness and his willingness to go out there for his team. But I think as organizations need to have a little more responsibility there in protecting a player's future health and not thinking of it in terms of just winning a championship. I think it's a little bit irresponsible.
Alrighty, so now to the series itself. What was your view on the series itself?
Probably 1A in terms of the best series I've ever seen. Now, I'm a lot older than you gentlemen, as we've gone over in various moments since I've been on. So,
unfortunately, I just brought it up again.
You did. You did bring it up again. Thanks for that.
Try to give you as much credit as we can.
No, it was really funny. We were pre-talking about the show, just prepping for the conversation we're having right now. And I was like, Andy, arguably this was the best Stanley Cup I have ever watched. And then Andy goes, well, I don't know. It's definitely up there compared to the 94 Ranger run. And I was like, Andy, I was only 6. And he goes, that's right.
I was just born when that happened. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think the 94 series, and again, you all know I'm an Islander fan, die hard, 35 years, so don't I don't want to get, my house egged and get hate mail and stuff to send to my kids, but
Andy, you suck.
That series for me, in terms of what was on the line with the Rangers, Messier coming in, I think it was 2 years prior, saying that they'll win a championship, what he did in Game 6 of that same year against the Devils in the conference final, and then the 7-game series with the Canucks, the classic penalty shot save by Mike Richter on Pavel Bure. Just an all-time classic series. Now, this one was up there. It was extreme, and that's why I say 1A and 1B, or 1 and 1A, however you want to classify it. You had 2 original 6 teams battling it out. And, I just want to thank both teams for allowing me to watch it, because 3 overtime games, incredible passion, and just the way it ended. 2 goals, 17 seconds, last minute and 15 of regulation to win the cup. Absolutely unbelievable. And it's kind of reverse karma for the poor Bruins, right?
Exactly. The way they kept their season alive, It's the same way they ended it. Exactly.
It's the hockey gods work in weird ways. I had said during Game 1, I think that was, what was the triple overtime game? Game 2. Game 1 or 2?
Game 1.
Game 1 was the triple overtime game.
Yes.
I had said it during that game. I was tweeting out because I had to go I had to make a serial run at the end of between the second and third OTs just to stay up. And I tweeted out that, if anybody goes to sleep willingly, that the hockey gods are going to get them. That the next time they play any type of organized hockey, whether it be deck hockey, roller hockey, or ice hockey, that they're going to take one right in the gonads. Yeah. If you pass out, that's totally different. That's acceptable, I think, to the hockey gods. But willingly going to sleep, I think, for any of these 6 games that these two teams battled was an injustice to both teams, and it was just an incredible series.
What is your cereal choice, Andy?
Random topic.
That was really special. That night I had to go for the gusto. I had to totally sugar up. So what I did was I mixed frosted mini wheats.
Ooh, okay.
With that new cereal Crave.
I never had Crave. Okay.
Yeah, it's filled with chocolate.
Okay.
It's like little puff pastries filled with chocolate.
Wow.
So yeah, I had to mix the Crave and the frosted mini wheats that night and just pump myself up with sugar to stay awake.
Ah, okay. That's something
Now is that your normal cereal of choice, or?
Yeah, I'm kind of like all over the place. I don't have one preference. I mean, I'm kind of like Raisin Bran, Golden Grahams kind of guy at times. Other times I'll jump to Crunch Berries. I'm not really
You're one of those when you get to the cabinet, you make your decision.
Well, no, at my age and with it's kind of whatever's on sale.
Well, at least when you get to the cabinet, you don't forget what you're going there for. So,
we're still in a recession, boys. We're still in a recession. It's whatever's on sale.
This is true.
Yeah, but as long as you're not forgetting when you get to the supermarket what you're there for, that's
right. Exactly.
This is always the key. I hate doing that in the supermarket. Anyway, we're talking hockey. Tangent about cereal. So, what was your favorite moment in the Stanley Cup so far? Well, obviously ended. It obviously ended. What was your favorite moment of this Stanley Cup of all the 6 games?
Oh man,
one defining moment like every series has.
How can you not say? I don't think anybody can look at those 6 games and not say that Game 6 was just the culmination, right? I mean, if you wrap that whole series, up into a nice ball, that there's no other way to end it than how it ended. And I think of all the goal scorers that I could have pictured in my mind, Dave Bolland, the way he was playing, especially in the third round against LA and then in the finals against Boston, he would have been the last guy that I had picked to score a goal at that moment. So I think under the circumstances, considering who scored the goal, who was on the ice when the goal was scored, wasn't even the Hawks' big line. I think the Hawks had every intention after getting the tying goal from Bickle. They had every intention of going to overtime. They rolled out their third line at that point. I don't even know if that was that was their third line at that point. And basically, I think looked pretty content to take it to overtime. So just the way that whole thing ended, I think that was just the culmination of everything for me right there in a nutshell. I was literally speechless for at least 2 hours after that game. I just kind of looked around. I didn't even know what to say. Usually I'm huge, I'm a huge social media guy on Twitter and Facebook, obviously, and I didn't even know what to post, what to say. I didn't even know what to say about it.
It was probably one of the better endings to a playoff series. I mean, I still won't forget the last Hawk finals. My buddy Jason and I were sitting there on the couch, and we were just watching it, and it was just like, okay, Patrick Kane just threw his gloves up in the air.
Right.
What's going on?
Well, that kind of took a lot out of it, right? I mean, for me, that was so anticlimactic when Kane beat the Flyers in 2010 because nobody knew he scored except him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was still looking for the puck, and he's like,
I turned to my son, and I was like, man, that kind of stunk. We kind of got robbed of a really great, of the whole tradition of the Cup is the team jumping off the bench and all the gloves going up in the air, but at the moment the horn goes, or at the moment an overtime goal is scored in a deciding game. I mean, we kind of got robbed of that there because Kane was the only guy doing it. Even his teammates were like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I remember, I think was Nemi who was the goalie?
Yeah, Anthony Niemi.
And I remember he was just like, what are you doing hugging me?
Why are you skating down here like that? You're like a maniac.
I scored. I scored.
And then
I thought that was kind of anticlimactic. We got robbed on that one, I think.
But they made it up for this year, so
absolutely, and then some.
Yeah, there's definitely no anticlimactic ending to this one.
Unfortunately, we have to change topics.
The off season's going to begin.
The off season is slowly approaching.
Well, it is. We got 2 hours until buyouts officially begin.
Yes, a couple hours till buyouts. Andy, we've had a couple of key buyouts already. Well, releases with Brizgalov and a few others. Escaping me at the top of at the moment.
Daniel Briere.
Yep, that was another one. Pretty much all the Flyers. Any other key franchise type players that are making too much money, like a Brad Richards kind of guy, or any other players going to be biting the bullet and taking the cap hit?
Yeah, well, obviously the first guy you think of is Brad Richards, right? Because he's local. We've heard about it all season. But I think the Richards situation with the hiring of Alain Vigneault has changed now. I think that what I'm hearing from one of my sources that's close to the Rangers is that when Vigneault came in, he basically said, "Look, we have one more amnesty. They used one on Redden, so we have one more to use. Let's hold off until next year. Give me a year of Richards because I think Vigneault felt that he really needed him offensively. And now I'm hearing it's less likely that Richards is going to be bought out. Sather apparently has already decided, but will not tip his hand to the media at all on what he has decided. But he has made his decision, and I wouldn't be shocked if Vigneault had a little bit of say in that and keeps Richards on.
I think Richards is going to stay on the team. It was more of a Tortorella at the end of the year, and they should give him a full season type of shake. I know it's just one of those touchy subjects. It could go either way, but at the end of the day, because they let go of the coach, that the player might actually win out like it normally happens so many times.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting. Any other players off the top of your head that you can see getting released?
You got to point right to Vancouver. Vancouver has the one guy that I probably fight the most with fellow Islander fans about, and who I think still has value and I think would be great on the Islanders, and that's Roberto Luongo. Always been a huge Luongo fan. I think the way that he handled the whole situation at Vancouver has been that of a true professional, great in the locker room, great personality. I think he'd be a tremendous upgrade in goal for the Islanders. He's definitely a buyout candidate. I think what Vancouver's looking at right now is they're trying to trade him first. And that's where the rumors with the Islanders started a couple of weeks ago of a deal possibly involving DiPietro and a prospect going to Vancouver for Luongo, in which case Vancouver would then use one of their amnesties on DiPietro, thus giving them a lower cap hit than they would have if they buy out Luongo. So it's kind of a complicated but interesting situation in Vancouver. There's also rumors that Mason Raymond's going to hit the wire. Now, he's an unrestricted free agent this year. Not specifically a buyout candidate, but a very speedy forward, 20, 25 goal scorer. That could be another avenue that the Islanders might want to look at in terms of getting someone to pair with John Tavares in place of Brad Boyes, who is I really can't see being back. But in terms of other major players being bought out, I think you're going to see a lot more of that next year when teams really start to feel the pinch of this new $64.3 million cap, and some of these existing deals start to wind down to their final years. So I think next year is going to be actually a bigger year for amnesty buyouts than this year will be.
This is going to be a fun off season, I think, because if you really want to think about it, the new CBA really takes effect this off season.
Yep.
So it's like now you really have to consider all your options, not just now, but also for the future. I think it's what you also get the amnesty clauses next year.
Yes.
For the buyouts.
You have two, right? You can use both this year, or you can use one and one, or you can use two next year.
So that's going to be interesting to see, especially within the Bakov situation. It makes you think that you may keep DiPietro one more year if there's no trade out for him, because of the fact that if you do buy him out, it does add years.
Right.
And you don't want to pay another 40 years to a guy.
No, we don't.
We already did that with Yashin, and he finally has his final 2 years left.
Yay!
So
the guy who I've failed to mention, I apologize for this, is Vincent LeCavalier on Tampa Bay, and this actually led to another interesting situation within the new CBA that you're talking about, and that's Tampa Bay had tried to trade LeCavalier, and basically the team they were going to trade him to, Tampa Bay was instructing them, buy him out, we'll trade him to you, you buy him out, and then we'll re-sign him at a lower cost, which prompted the NHL to issue an immediate response. I don't know how they got wind of it, but they did. and they issued an immediate response and sent out a memo actually to all general managers telling them that tactic was going to be considered circumvention of the cap and not allowed.
Which tactic? The sending to the minors?
No, trading a player, having the team you trade him to buy him out using the amnesty clause.
Right.
And then you re-sign him at a lower cost. So, for instance, Tampa Bay trades LeCavalier to, let's say, Toronto.
Right.
And then Toronto uses their amnesty on LeCavalier. Tampa Bay then scoops in and signs LeCavalier for $5 million per year for 2 years instead of the 7.7 that they're on the hook for him now for.
Right.
So the NHL quickly put the brakes on that and said that will not be allowed under the new CBA. It will be considered circumvention. So LeCavalier is making a crap load of money. If you look at Tampa Bay's salary chart, LeCavalier 7.7, Stamkos 7.5, St. Louis 5.6 on a 35-plus deal. Malone 4.5, Purcell 4.5. Matt Carl's making $5.5 million. So LeCavalier and Ryan Malone are definite candidates in Tampa Bay as well, but Malone is hurt too much to really be any significance on the market, on the open market, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing they had a problem with the NBA, with the amnesty clauses.
Yeah.
A lot of teams would use it on one guy and then trade another guy just to get rid of his
Yeah,
cap.
that's exactly what happened with the Knicks. Not a lot of people realize that the Knicks already used theirs with Chauncey Billups.
Yeah. And now they're trying to trade Amari to other teams to get.
So it's going to be a very touchy subject. It's going to be very interesting to see like which players are going to be let go and what teams are going to take their flyer on him, just because they have the cap space and able to capitalize on it. Do you think the Islanders will have any shot of any of these guys just because of the rift and the cap room we have?
Yeah, I think Garth Snow will do what Garth Snow always does, right? And that's, we know he'll be active on the phones. We know he'll be trying to improve the team. But we also know that he believes very deeply in the system that he built. And he believes very deeply in the players that he has, both on the roster and the players that are coming up from Bridgeport. So I don't think it's something that he feels he's going to be forced to do. But because, again, we've talked about this before, for the new guys to come up, Ryan Strome, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Matt Donovan, there has to be roster spots for those guys to come up to. So if you think that David Ullstrom, who's already gone, Marty Reasoner, who's gone, Brad Boyes, who in all likelihood is gone, and maybe you throw something at Aucoin and Jesse Uensu. So Ullstrom, Reasoner, Boyes, and Strite. That's 4 right there. You replace those in-house, right, with Strome, Lee, Nelson, and Donovan. Now, that's granted those guys come in September, make a claim for the job and win the job. But I'm not sure how much room they're going to have to add. I mean, I think when I did my free agency forwards preview at Eyes, the 4 guys that I had my eye on and that I previewed were Nathan Horton, Michael Ryder, David Clarkson, and Daniel Briere.
All guys that I would love to have on the Islanders.
Exactly. Now I'm starting to cool on Horton because I'm hearing he wants a 6 to 7 year deal, and he has a chronic shoulder injury, not something that can be fixed with surgery or rehab. A chronic shoulder problem. So when I did the research and wrote the paragraphs on each of those guys, I was really impressed, believe it or not, with Michael Ryder, who's already been told he will not be back with Montreal. It's a guy who's had a really, really nice career. And
underrated career.
Exactly. And has proven to be healthy and effective and productive. I think he'd be a nice step up from Boyes on the right wing of Tavares and Molson.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Michael Ryder's actually a pretty underrated player. People don't really realize that about him. But it will be interesting this offseason, to see what the Islanders do. But like you said, we all know Garth Snow he'll be on the phone. He always is. I mean, we talked before the show about Ilya Kovalchuk. The Islanders offered him the most money.
Yep.
He's not afraid to ask Charles Wang for the money. if it's going to improve the team, and he thinks he has a shot at signing it. And now players are going to start thinking, oh, it's only 2 years left on Long Island. Okay, let me get as much money as I can, play 2 years in the crappy arena, and then go to this nice new arena.
Right.
But this week, we do have this Sunday, the 30th, is NHL Draft Day.
It's going to be crazy. All 7 rounds are going to be taking place in one day.
It's insane.
That's going to be insane. Are you actually going to be, since it is in New Jersey, are you going to take the trip to Newark on Sunday?
We were actually planning on it, but it turns out that just another reason for us Islander fans to hate the Devils. They did a nice job of confusing us all and then misleading us all on their plans for the draft. It turns out originally it was going to be a free general admission.
Gotcha.
It turns out that now it's not going to be a general admission. You do need a ticket, and the only way the tickets are obtained is either if you're a Devil season ticket holder or through a raffle that they had about 2 weeks ago.
Gotcha. I know one person going because she's a Devil season ticket holder. And I was offered, but I'm probably not going to go.
It's going to be a long day. Like I said, we would have liked to have gone, but and to boot, what the Devils did was they overbooked media credentials as well, because this is the first time that you've ever had a draft where you have really 5 markets that are in pretty close vicinity to the draft location. So what they did was they overbooked press credentials as well, where they were actually at the end of their issuance, they were actually turning some credentialed press members away from the draft as well because they just can't fit them all.
Alrighty. The Islanders do have, this is weird to say, the 15th pick.
Yep.
In the draft. I mean, I'm not even planning on going to the draft party this year because usually when you go, it's
a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
you're going to be there for like an hour and a half, and you're going home. This you have the chance of sitting there for 4 hours between picks because you know how the NHL does it.
Right.
You got to make sure you have every single person in everybody's family have a conversation with them, and make sure you get all the Twitter hype and all that with them as well. So before we talk Islanders, now I know for about a year since last year's draft, the big name has been Seth Jones.
Right.
Have you looked into it, or what's your view on the top couple picks?
Well, Seth Jones is by far, in my mind, the number 1 pick. He's a franchise defenseman. He's a big kid, mobile kid, has some offense to his game. In my mind, he would be a great fit on the Avalanche, who own the number 1 pick. Apparently, the reason why I'm sitting here and Joe Sakic and Patrick Roy are sitting in a nice cushioned office in Colorado is
It'd be nice.
They don't think that way. Colorado now is saying that they want a forward, which the consensus number 1 forward is Nathan MacKinnon out of the Quebec Major Junior League. Great pick as well. Not what I think the Avalanche per se need. They're determined with the forward and MacKinnon. They're envisioning a future lineup down the road of MacKinnon, Matt Duchene, Gabriel Landeskog. That's their vision. That's Patrick Roy and Joe Sakic's vision. So Jones is probably going to fall to another team that needs him, and that's the Florida Panthers at 2. If the Panthers pass on Seth Jones, I'll just, I'll quit eyes on the spot and just walk away from the whole thing right there.
Can we quote you on? Are we going to quote him on that?
Yeah. I think we should.
I can't see Florida. Florida really can use Seth Jones. Their defense is questionable at best. It was probably one of their biggest Achilles heels last year. And then Jonathan Drouin, another excellent winger out of the Quebec League, falls to Tampa Bay at 3, which is perfect for them because they have an aging, Martin St. Louis, who's going to be done in a year or 2. And at that time, Jonathan Drouin will be ready to step in and make a really big impact playing alongside Steven Stamkos.
Okay. This is the SND Podcast show on the Schmuck Sports Network, and we are here via Skype with Andy from Eyes on Isles. So let's shift gears a little bit and go to the Islanders. And before we go player at 15, let's talk position-wise that you feel is a need for the Islanders at 15?
Obviously, goal. How can you start any needs conversation with the Islanders and not start in goal? They don't have one goaltender currently signed. Kevin Poolin's a restricted free agent. It's not even worth mentioning Tim Thomas. Evgeny Nabokov, it was announced today that talks are at a stalemate. As we said pre-show, I think it's about term. I don't think it's about money. But at the same time, I think it also signifies that Garth Snow might have something up his sleeve in terms of either a trade or a free agent signing at the goaltender position. But problem for the Islanders in that standpoint is there are no goaltenders really to draft, not at 15 anyway, that are going to come in and make an impact, right? So I think defensively, with losing only Streit and probably Pinek, but with Matt Donovan coming in, with other good young defensemen in the system, I think this is one of those years that they go forward again. They do like drafting a forward. They do realize the reliance on their first line last year for the first half of the season needs to get straightened out. So for that reason, I think they go based on the draft board and who's possibly going to be out there at 15. I think they go forward.
Okay. And is there a name that you've been looking at?
Actually, a couple. The guy that I want, that a lot of fans are clamoring for as well, is Max Domi, who you'll all remember Ty Domi. This is Max, who's Ty's son. Absolutely total opposite of Ty. Size-wise, they're identical, but skill-wise, Max is an unbelievably skilled player. Fantastic hands, great with the puck in deep. Sort of a little, I'm not going to even compare him to Tavares, but similar in the sense that coming out of his draft class, he's got a lot of the positives that scouts have said, or a lot of the things that they said about Tavares when Tavares was coming out. Great hands, good down low, loves to score goals, uses his small frame very wisely. That's a guy that I'd like to have. I don't think he's there at 15, personally. So I think then we're looking at probably Hunter Shinkaruk, who's a really offensively gifted center. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of David Ullstrom, but with more offensive punch. And then another guy who's very intriguing to me, who's been slipping down the draft board, has been Anthony Mantha. Again, out of the Quebec League. The Quebec League produced a lot of prospects this year. Mantha is a huge kid, 6'4" left winger. Needs to put a little bit of bulk on. He weighs only about 180 right now, which is thin for 6'4". But this kid is just all about goals. He is a pure goal-scoring winger. He's obviously big, so his size is a huge advantage in front of the net. Some scouts say that he doesn't really, he hasn't learned to use his size to his advantage yet, but I think given the potential there, that could be a nice pick at 15, Anthony Mantha.
Alrighty. There was one name that I just had up here that I noticed. Alexander Weinberg.
Yeah. We actually had our draft expert, Chris Triantafyllis, over at Eyes, did a little preview on Weinberg yesterday, I think it was. The thing that bothers me a little bit about Weinberg is his size, probably mostly. I think if there's one thing the Islanders can improve on at forward, it's size-wise. So I'm not sure if he's going to really fit that bill for them. And a lot of the mock drafts have him going anywhere from 10 to 18. So it's not even a guarantee that he's going to be there when the Islanders do end up drafting.
That was just a name that I saw. Yeah, that was in a couple of names. Yeah, that was one of the few names I saw too. Like you said, he can be 10 to 18, so God knows what's going to happen. It's either if some team likes him or some team doesn't like him, for him to fall to the Islanders, if that's the way it's sounding.
Yeah, I think if Weinberg and Mantha are both available at 15, and again, this is just my opinion, but I'm going with the 6'4" goal-scoring winger, in my opinion.
I'm with that. Definitely with that. We need more of that.
Agreed.
We would ask you about the Rangers' first round pick, but they
They
don't have one.
one this year. So what about the Devils?
We might as well talk a little Devils, considering you're from Jersey.
What's the
Yes. I
town
mean,
team?
do we have to? I mean,
Oh, we don't have to, but
yes, we have
Everybody
to.
likes to talk about the Devils, but
Devils pick ninth, actually. You know what? The Devils are a team that I can see coming in and squashing my hopes and taking a Max Domi. I think the guys that are projected to go, obviously, it's McKinnon, Jones, and Druin, 1 through 3. I think probably Barkov, Niskanen, and Monahan then go. Monahan's a really good player out of the Ontario League. And then it's really going to be a crapshoot from 7 on down. But if things play out right, the Devils could well end up with Max Domi, and for them, that would be a really, really great pickup for a team that's struggling to add offense to play with Kovalchuk. That'd be a really nice pickup for them.
so you don't think the Devils would look for a goaltender?
While they should, again, this is not a goaltender draft. There's really no one out there that's got the upside over the forwards that I just named. In fact, the top goalie is probably this kid Zach Foucault in the Quebec League, and he's projected in the late 20s. So I think given that the Devils' number one need is just not available in this draft, I think they go with the best available player at 9, and that could end up to be a Max Domi.
So you got Max Domi possibly to the Devils. The Islanders, you got a couple guys you're interested in. So what are you looking forward to the most? The trades? Is there any trades you think are going to actually happen this weekend?
I think there's going to be a lot of activity. I think, like I said, teams are going to really look to set themselves up for free agency. And don't forget, the free agency class is going to get a little deeper. I called it the last time we spoke one of the worst classes I've seen in years, and I still hold to that. But it's going to get a little better with the amnesty buyouts. It's going to throw a lot of guys into unrestricted status that aren't there currently. So it's going to get a little more interesting. I think you'll see a lot of movement. I wouldn't go out on a limb and start predicting which players might be moved. Right now, GMs are in kind of tight-lip mode on that. So, but I do think there'll be a lot of movement. I do think it'll be a fun day. I always look forward to Bettman coming up to the podium and saying we have a trade to announce. Kind of gets everyone. You kind of go from sitting with my feet up on my coffee table with a beer to leaning up on the edge of the couch, to waiting to hear what he's going to say. So
you got a lot of ones that aren't even like exciting.
Yeah. Then you get on the edge of your seat and he tells you that the teams have swapped first round picks from like 14 to 12.
Well, yeah. That's the best part about the draft. You just never know what can happen during the day. Look at the Islanders last year.
Mad Mike.
Oh boy, come on. No need to bring him up.
Let's not talk about that. There was a sad anniversary this week of him drafting DiPietro.
Actually, today was also the anniversary of the Islanders drafting John Tavares.
That is right. 4 years ago today.
Yes. And as it just so happens, we as luck would have it, today was JT's day for our summer report card that we posted. So
I saw that. We did post that.
So it just so happened that it came out on the same day. Just luck of the draw.
So make sure everybody checks that out on eyesoniles.com.
Oh, before we end, Andy, how's the Marty Reasoner report card gone?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the Marty Reasoner one.
It was out. It was out. I posted on our Facebook page. If you guys wanted to see it or not, and a couple of fans, Dan, you were one of them.
Yeah,
said it's part of the team. Put it out there. One guy actually.
I put the wink face on, so that you can take it whichever way.
One guy on there was really adamant about it. He's like, part of the team. He gets a card. He was really adamant about it. So I did end up doing one for Reasoner. It was, I'm going to tell you, one of the most difficult things for me to write objectively. And I don't want to kind of break my arm patting myself on the back, but I think I did a pretty decent job. I'm not going to say good job. I did a pretty decent job of keeping it objective enough to give Marty his fair shake.
So you're that slacker student that had to write a 30-page paper in a 24-hour span, not really realizing what you're writing, but good enough job to get a passing grade is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'd say I probably got a 65 on that one.
All right,
I
nice.
just squeaked that one out.
Passing is passing, my friend. What do you call the stupidest doctor in med school?
What?
Doctor. So it don't matter.
No. There you go. That's making me feel better. You always screw me up, man.
Once again, thank you, Andy, for joining us.
Thanks, Andy.
Check him out, Facebook and Twitter. His personal pages as well. He loves to chat hockey. He loves to chat with anybody. He's a great guy to hang out with, too.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks.
Got the site Eyes on Isles. We retweet a lot of the stuff now. Every time I see something, I try and get the retweet in for him. So, just like he helps us out, we help him out. Thanks again, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
You too.
All right, take care.
S&D Podcast is no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Hockey League or any of its affiliates.
Welcome back to the S&D Podcast. Dan here with Steve. You just listened to this week's show, Course the Bear. Before we wrap up the show, thanks again to Andy.
Yes, once again.
We wouldn't do another great show without Andy. He's one of our biggest cheerleaders, and thank you for Andy for coming on and supporting us daily through Twitter and Facebook. He's a great guy, and you should definitely check out his writings, and we're going to have him on so much more throughout the summer and other things. We're not worried with that. Another great insight about the Stanley Cup and what's going to happen this offseason throughout the whole 30 teams in NHL. Also, we had a fun show talking about the NBA Finals, even though we all knew it was inevitable. It was just bound to happen that the Heat were going to win their back-to-back NBA Finals.
Yes, shout out to Keith again for last week
Thanks
for joining us.
Keith.
And also Darren again last week from the 7.
Yeah.
Make sure you check all his stuff out. I know he has some new stuff and new ideas coming up shortly.
And once again, kind of big baseball week. Depending on the way you look at it. For a Mets fan, you got to see Harvey at Friday night and Wheeler on Sunday, his first game at Citi Field. So be sure to check those 2 games out for sure. I know Steve's going to be at the game Sunday. At the moment, I'm trying to figure out tickets, something out.
Am I. Still trying to figure it out.
I'm probably going to be there, so not worried with that. With the Yankees, it's going to be a huge division week. They're going to be playing the Nats. So
the Orioles.
I'm sorry. The Mets are playing the Nats. The Mets are playing the Nats. I'm sorry. The Orioles. The Yankees are going down to Baltimore to play the Orioles.
But it's actually bigger for them because not only are they playing at the Orioles this weekend, but next weekend, we'll talk about. Next week they play at the Twins during the week, but then they come home to play the Orioles again.
Okay, so it's going to be...
So they have about 6 games coming up before the All-Star break against the Orioles.
It's huge because they're both tied for second place right now, 3 behind the Red Sox at the moment. So it's not going to be make or break time because it's only June, the ending of June, but it could tighten the gap up a little bit, either positive or negatively for the Yankees. It's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully, A-Rod doesn't stir more drama in the tabloids, but it's A-Rod, so we can't promise that.
Yeah. But thanks again to Andy for this week. Let's go play a little more Division 1.1, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.